Live from the rooftop of the Hermann London Real Estate Group in beautiful downtown Maplewood, it's the St. Louis Realtor Podcast with Adam Kruse and Shannon St. Pierre.
Well, welcome everybody to the St. Louis Realtor Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Kruse, here with my co-host, Shannon St. Pierre.
Hello.
Thanks to COVID, we're still doing these from our homes. We are super excited today because we have Sam here from Servpro. And Sam, today, you know what we want to talk about is all about biohazard cleanup. And interesting, and any other interesting things, I guess, that Servpro does. But just to give a quick intro, a few months ago, one of our realtors, Christy Kramlich, she used Servpro for a biohazard cleanup. And she was kind of telling us about it, and we thought it was really interesting. And so we thought, you know, this is my first time in however many 15 years or whatever, having to deal with something like that. You know, someone was deceased in the property, and
Which is a
I don't
good
think
thing.
most people.
It's a good thing.
What's a good thing? That I
You
haven't had to deal with that. Yeah.
Up to this point. Up to this
Not
point.
that the guy
you
was
have not had
deceased,
to deal
but
with
it's a
it.
good thing that I haven't had to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
It's a good thing that we haven't had to deal with it, but we didn't really know what to do, and hopefully it doesn't happen to many people. But what are you supposed to do? And actually, right after that, we had another instance where a tenant died in one of our properties that we manage, and so there was no biohazard cleanup in that situation. But we know, Sam, we wanted to have you on to kind of learn about all this stuff and interview you and talk about it. And Shannon is super interested in this because she said her favorite TV channel is ID.
ID channel.
Whatever that is.
So Sam, do you like watch that stuff and go, oh my gosh, like do you, because it's what you do.
I like to watch it just because I'm one of those strange people that for some reason, if I'm watching TV, I have to watch something that I feel like I'm going to get something out of. So a lot of times I'll actually watch Hoarders or shows like that just because they're things that I've run into in real life. And it sounds funny, but those people are actually professionals on TV, and they actually do have good advice about things. And when you're going into situations like this, you can take 1,000 classes, you can read 1,000 books, but the guys that are out there doing it every day, and the guys that are actually cleaning things and dealing with the smell while they're trying to think and figure out how to do things and all the different components coming at you at once, those are the people that I like to see at work. So you find them on ID. You find them on strange TV shows that people don't like to watch.
That is interesting. I just watched a show, Hoarders, this past weekend or something, and I haven't watched that show in so long. And I actually did learn a few things from it in terms of some of the, not just the known and obvious hazards, but you know, some of the diseases that can happen just from rat droppings just accumulating in an area. Virus spread.
If you don't mind, let's take a step back and just kind of intro Sam. We're just excited to jump into it, but let's intro Sam. Sam, tell us a little about yourself. What's your role at Servpro? Kind of tell us a little bit about Servpro.
My name's Sam Baer. I work for the Servpro of Northwest St. Louis County. We actually own Servpro of Oakville, Mehlville, Affton, Webster Groves, Clayton and Ladue, and Northwest St. Louis County. We're the largest Servpro in the area. I began my career actually as a entry-level worker about 6 years ago. I started out as a technician helping somebody clean carpet, and then moved into cleaning carpet, moved into fire and water restoration, moved into biohazard and mold remediation, moved into project management, and now I'm actually business development for all 4 of our franchises.
Wow. I guess when it came to COVID, you guys had plenty of masks and stuff on stock. You guys were like the most prepared. Probably.
So we were, but there was really no way to prepare for this, unfortunately. I mean, no matter how many masks we have, you're going to have fellow Servpros that need things, or, you know, even if you're not a Servpro, we kind of all work together in the restoration industry. It's a contractor connection that we talk about. And we may have a lot of things, but we don't have anywhere to get it afterwards. So, and even if we can, we have to get it from a truck driver that has to deliver it across the United States that, God forbid, is still working and stuff. You know, it's just, nobody really has, unless you got a bunch of 55-gallon drums of hand sanitizer, nobody really has anything that's going to protect us for the longevity of what what's going to happen here.
Mm-hmm. Well, we want to kind of focus on the biohazard cleanup stuff today, but can you tell us a little bit, just an overview of what Servpro does in general? Because it seems like on your website you handle mold and all sorts of other stuff.
So Servpro is an emergency response contractor. We will come out for any type of water in your home. If there's a fire, any smoke damage, cigarette smells in your home, we will step into carpet cleaning. If your home catches on fire, we will go in and hand pack out every single item of your home, put barcodes on it, take photos of it, categorize it, and store it for you for months. Even if it takes 5 months, 10 months, a year and a half to rebuild your product, we have the facilities that we can store basically whole homes inside of our warehouse, inside of vaults. Wow. The bioremediation side is, it's a side that if you want to get into it, you get into it. Nobody's ever forced to do anything like that. Most of the time it's a lucrative industry. And once you start seeing things and doing things in a weird way, you like to do it or you don't like to do it. It's something where you can turn off the blood, guts, and gore and get through the day, or the first time you go out, you're never going to do this again. There's no one.
Which side are you on, Sam?
I'll do it every day. All day, every day.
It's got to take a really special person, though. I mean, just like anyone that deals with, some of those more sensitive issues of our society. That, I mean, are you taking it home every night and it weighing on your shoulders? So it's got to, and this is that next step. This isn't just, the cop dealing with the situation. This is the cleanup.
I try to treat myself the same way as any first responder. They have given me a lot of insight on how to handle these things. And when I come home and I take my uniform off, I take my day off. I do not, at the end of the day, when I leave Servpro and I get inside of my house and I take my Servpro uniform off, I have to click out of everything. I can't cross over personal life and work in any way, shape, or form, not even just because of the biohazard, but I throw away baby books. I throw away wedding dresses. I throw away high school memorabilia. I throw away everything you keep in your home, you keep in your basement. And if your sewer backs up in your basement, not even a biohazard incident, you're going to throw everything away. So I have to be the guy, like on those Hoarders shows, that I have to be stern. I have to explain to them that this is for your health. You have children in the home. You have pets in the home. You can't do it. If there's children in the home and it's an uncomfortable situation, there's been times where we've refused jobs simply because when we go to leave, I'm not going to leave a house in a condition that my mother or my grandmother or I wouldn't feel safe letting my family members in. And some of these companies out here will do that. They just want to collect the small amounts of money. We want to do things right. I'd rather not make money if I'm going to do it wrong. I'd rather make it the right way or not make it at all. And I'm completely honest when I say that because I have to go to bed and sleep at night.
So the way you handle it is that you're doing it right. You're leaving any home behind in a condition that you would leave your child in, your mother, your grandmother. So the way you look at yourself and the way you are able to get through it is that you're knowing that you're turning something back over in a condition that's absolutely acceptable.
Yes, and sometimes the family members aren't even allowed in the home. I've been woken up at 2:00 in the morning by the police to come to homes that the family members were outside and the police told them it was in their best interest to not go inside. We would sign paperwork and begin cleaning things up off of photos that we could walk back out of the home and show the homeowner, just they had a general concept of what had went on inside the home. But sometimes, I mean, there's blood and there's guts and there's gore and there's things that if you lose a family member, I don't feel like you should have to go into the home of your family member that passes away and look at their body before you can get somebody to come clean it up. That's just not right to me. You should be able to get help at any time. If you have a homeowner's insurance policy, most accidental deaths or anything else in the home are covered under the homeowner's insurance. And if not, it doesn't hurt to call and ask. You just find out what your deductible is. It sounds bad, but it's just the same as a tree falling on your home or your home catching on fire. This is what we have insurance for. This is what we pay to insure our homes for. This is what separates people from people that just occupy dwellings and have no right or no passage there.
So what does the term biohazard specifically refer to?
Biohazard is going to be most of the time your trauma scene cleanups. It's cleaning, sanitizing, deodorizing after any violent crime or a death in the home that has not been found.
So biohazard is anything kind of like human related. It's not like if there's sewer backup, that's not considered biohazard. Biohazard
No.
is it mainly like kind of suicides or like deaths that happen that have been sitting there for a while and stuff like that?
It's when you're worrying more about handling the materials because of bloodborne pathogens and other things. If you have a sewer backup, if feces goes down your drain, it's been down your drain, it's been mixed into a sanitation line, and it's contaminated. But necessarily calling it biohazard is hard. And a lot of times that's because the insurance company writes, what they're going to code something as. A family member that's found deceased has to be put in as a certain way. You can't say that if a little sewer backs up in a basement, the concrete's got to be drilled out. But if somebody passes away in the basement and there's a large amount of blood on the concrete, you'll chip out the concrete. You will remove everything that the blood touches. Blood has protein.
So you'd actually have to chip out concrete. You can't clean and sanitize concrete. I mean, we think of concrete as the most solid surface.
But concrete
not like
has
carpet, wood, even.
So concrete's a very porous surface. It has a little itty bitty. Whenever you pour concrete,
Sure.
think about you're going to put a large amount of liquid down onto something, and it's going to push all the air back up to the top. So you're going to have little itty bitty air bubbles in the top of all of it. They're going to be very, very small. Whenever you get blood on any concrete, that blood's going to go inside of those little holes. And 6 months later, you can clean that blood off the concrete, but you're going to have a smell because blood has protein in it. Bacteria lives off of protein. So all the bacteria anywhere in the home, if it gets passed, moved, or comes anywhere near that, it's going to be attracted to it. And that's what you're going to get your smell from. You have to suffocate the bacteria in your sanitization process. If you just try to kill the bacteria, a lot of times what happens is if you don't kill it all the way, it's going to come back twice as strong because it already knows what you're fighting against it with. It's just like a human body is. It's going to build immunities to things. The worst thing you can do is put bleach on something and not kill all of it because bleach is the strongest. And once something learns how to fight back against bleach and still lives, there's a lot of things I can put on it, but it's going to take a lot of things to fight back now. So if you remove the concrete, you're removing any blood, any protein from inside of that layer of the concrete. Now it's concrete, it's solid. You're not going to be, don't think you're going to be removing 6 inches down on your concrete or something. A lot of the times you're using hammer chisel and it'll have a nice blade on it. You can kind of chip along the surface to take it out. Just like if you had a tile floor, you would definitely want to chip up any of the tile because your grout is supposed to be perfect and they claim your grout's a sealant, but everybody knows grout breaks away and peels over time. So if you get a little bit of blood that seeps underneath a tile, and if it's tile, it's probably a kitchen, honestly, and you start to smell that, you're going to know. When it comes to biohazard remediation, if you mess up and you don't do it right, the homeowner's going to know. There's no way around it. There's too many smells. There's too many different things. I've done jobs before where, you got to find all the teeth. It gets extensive into things. And that goes back to being my mother or my grandmother's home. If somebody passed away inside of a home and I don't find a tooth, and that woman comes walking upstairs and finds that, I might as well quit. Why am I here? There's a lot of detail that you have to pay attention to, and you have to handle everybody with care.
Right.
Jeez.
I don't mean to make it sound so intense. It's just,
But this is exactly what we never thought of, right?
Or you're not.
Yeah. So you said if you don't find a body in time, what's in time? So if someone dies in a house, how long do you have to discover them before they become a biohazard?
You want to find them day one.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Had to think otherwise. I got that, but
finding them within a week or within a day is your best. Sometimes they sit for months. Sometimes, depending on the weather, I've had incidents where people passed away in a garage, and it was the middle of the winter. And if it's the middle of the winter and you're in a garage, you're not there's not gonna be smells. You're not gonna know. And then 3 months later, a family member comes over and goes to see where they're at, doesn't see them, goes to check the garage to see if the car's in there, and they're deceased in the garage and have been there for 3 months. Your body, your skin starts to thin, your body starts to change over time. The longer it takes to find someone after they're deceased, or the longer it takes for a biohazard situation, the more expensive that it gets. If you pass away on the main level of your home and there's blood involved, it's going to soak into the flooring material on that floor. Now, a couple weeks later, it's going to drip down into the basement. A couple weeks later, you're going to run into chipping out the concrete. It's the longer it's there, the longer it can soak in, is the more expensive these projects get.
Well, I'm definitely not hungry for lunch anymore.
Well, so we had to, I called our attorney representative to ask about the sort of the laws around realtors listing properties for sale and whether they have to disclose whether there was a death in the property or not. What would you say are some laws and regulations around this biohazard cleanup?
I actually only know about the laws that govern typically our staff.
So tell us about some of those, I guess.
So my guys all have safety training. There's different companies you can go to get that safety training. I personally saw mine from a company called Amdicon. They are, I believe, based out of Texas. There's so many laws and rules as far as what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do, what you're allowed to do as a realtor and what you're not allowed to do, what the police are allowed to do, that I've only mainly focused on my rules. I figured it was best to get my rules and my laws down because I'm not there afterwards. So I'm not there when the bill's paid. I'm not there when the flooring's put back in. I'm not there when the house is put back on the market. I see nothing further than the mitigation portion of the project. So I don't even know if it's disclosed afterwards that there was a death in the home. I don't know any laws, unfortunately, about that, just because I'm usually doing the next one by the time they're selling the next home.
So, for example, we just had a house burned down. And then we have to, just before we tear the house down, we're having to wait for it to be released from the insurance company and from the county. And is it similar? Like if someone comes and they find a dead body, I can't imagine how terrible that situation would be. First step, I guess they call the police. And
Yes.
Then if it's their house, do they call insurance and then insurance calls you? And then you can't go in until the police release the scene, I would presume.
So once the
What's
police,
the process?
we usually will get called once the police remove the body. We can't do anything in the home until it's been cleared. As sometimes we'll go in and there'll be caution tape across a certain area of the home where they're going to do an investigation, but we needed to get to work right away. You can call us first. I will meet anyone at any time, and if they tell me, hey, I have a $500 insurance deductible, I can tell you exactly what I can do for that $500 right now to get you into best shape so that we can file an insurance claim tomorrow. Servpro has multiple franchises all over the country, but we're all independently owned and operated. My Servpro owner is from St. Louis, born and raised. He is involved in everything that we do. When I first started, he was out on jobs training me, getting involved with every project. He will go out of town to fight the hurricane relief and everything. So we can work with anyone to do anything, and we're in direct contact with each other at all times. This isn't a 1-800 system. This is us. We're local. I was born and raised in South St. Louis. My boss is from Mehlville. My general manager's from Mehlville. There's not a single out of towner here. We just take care of our city. That's all we know how to do.
Okay, let's see. I had all these questions written down and you've kind of been answering some of them, but so how long can biohazard sit before you have to rip out the wood floor? Is that, you're saying just a day maybe?
If you have to rip out the floor, truthfully, it doesn't matter how long it's there. Are you saying before you have to rip out the floor?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to rip out the floor.
If
So you
some
just
like,
have to rip out the floor. There's not a lot of option when it
if
comes
more
to
than like a
biohazard.
teaspoon of blood falls on the floor, you need to be ripping it out.
No, if it's a small amount of blood that immediately spattered on the floor, then it's a different situation. But if you come into a home and you're not exactly sure how long the deceased has been there, and you look at that floor, you can look at hardwood floor, and I say you can because it's something that I do a lot, but you can look at a hardwood floor sometimes and see the distance in between the plats, the wood, if the wood is old, if there's been some slight water damage, if there's cupping, if there's bowing, all those things are taken into an account. And if any of those water damage signs are there from previous, then you know that there's a penetration point that the blood can get in between the floor. What you can do is you can also go down in the floor below if you have the ability to and look at the subfloor. If you start to see a staining down in the basement underneath your hardwood floor, and you got hardwood floor here, and then the plywood there, if it's already in the plywood, the hardwood floor has to go. You're going to try to stain it or do anything in the world. Blood's got a hard time coming out of things. If you did get it out of wood, you would more than likely have to sand and refinish all of the wood anyway. So one of the things that you'd take into account is it a continuous floor throughout the same level? Or is there a line of sight that we can cut this off at a certain point? You know, most insurance companies, if you're going to pull out a hardwood floor, what we would do is we would cut a 5 foot or a 5-inch long strip of it, and we mail it to a company. They're called Itel. And Itel can take a sample of any flooring. They can detect the grade of it, the thickness of it, the colors of it, and it'll search all the United States to see if they can get it anywhere. And if they can't get it, that's how they can make the determination to replace the flooring or not. But if they can get it out of a factory and it's feasible, it's just your cost of repair or replacement. But there are companies that do that for hardwood floor, for carpet, tile. I've sent out samples of base molding in commercial building projects just because they had 15 floors of the same base molding and we removed 10 feet of it and they couldn't find it. So replacement is always an option. It's just, is it what's gonna save you more money in the long run? If someone's deceased in a home, you wanna get that home back to regular and sell it most of the time. A lot of people don't want to live in a deceased family member's home. You have a complete opposite side of that though, that if a mother and a father live in a home and a child's deceased, some of them never want to leave. Some of them want the bedroom to look exactly the same it was when it came before this happened. You know, it's everyone's different. You just have to have heart. I know it sounds crazy and I know it sounds cheesy, but you just have to listen to people. You're dealing with probably the most complicated situation they've ever been in that they've never even wanted to deal with before. If I go in and tell them you have to do this, this, and this, and this, they're going to tell me to go home. You know, everybody wants to try to do things themselves, but you get 4 hours into a cleaning project and realize that, you know, your attachment, your connection to this person, you can call somebody then, but you can't get those 4 hours back. You know, that's your last 4 hours with a family member. You don't want those last couple hours to be you fighting and trying to clean. You know, you should have time to mourn. You should have time to hug your family, and I'll put on a suit and I'll put on a respirator, I'll put on gloves, I'll put the whole suit on like ET's in there, and I'll take care of everything for you. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Kind of a weird question. Is blood the worst like thing that comes out of a body, or stomach bile or something like that? Or what's the worst thing?
Without going into detail, when you pass away, you lose muscle tension. So anything that constricts in your body, anything that holds anything in your body doesn't hold anything in your body anymore. So anything in your bowels, anything in your bladder, anything, there's no muscle constriction or tightness, and that's worse than blood. That's
worse than blood. For like from a cleaning up purpose, or from like a doing damage purpose?
A visual. That's I think that's the only thing that visually, when you look at it, it's just kind of like a dawning moment of
like, here I go, I got to clean this up.
It's more of that's not blood. I know that's something you would never expect somebody to say, but I would rather have blood.
I I could
It's
see
all-
that. Because, I mean, once the body, is deceased and it starts to fill with the gases, and then you get a lot of fluids from the body that are very, I don't even know what they are, but they're fluids from the body in whatever way that is. So I can't imagine what it must be.
Just wear gloves.
We have a question from our audience here
Yes.
on our Facebook Live. So they said, to be safe, what should you do if you find out there was a death in a home and you don't know how long they had been there or where exactly they passed in the home?
If you find out there's a death in the home, I would hope you could speak to your realtor. That's the way that I've always understand things. That was what you were bringing up earlier that I said I was not aware of. I know that I'm a dork, and I've thought places were haunted before. I've gone online and pulled tax records for my own dwellings that I've been in. I've pulled newspaper articles before. I haven't found anything, thankfully, but there's ways you can search around on the internet. The internet's insane. Pardon me 1 second. Alexa, turn off. Sorry about that.
It's all right. So if there's a death in the home, you don't know how long they'd been there. I guess the listener here is saying it's not like there's a scene, there's not like blood or there's not a body there. They just found out that they, I guess, bought or renting or whatever a property where there was a death.
So we keep all of our paperwork on any bioremediation jobs that we do. Most leasing offices or companies, I would think, would be required to keep tax records and paperwork for multiple years. This is a service that has to go in with a receipt. So there's taxes paid on it. There's a paper trail. There has to be a paper trail for everything that I do, every home I enter in. And everyone has to keep a paper trail for any subcontractors or workers that they have in their home to prove that the necessary work has been completed. If you can't get that paperwork, that means that what you're thinking, in my personal opinion, I would think would be true. That would be the only reason why someone would ever hide any type of paperwork from you.
Yeah.
So speaking of the paper trail, Adam, though, in regards to that, then you're almost assuming that if you're using a service like Servpro, there's got to be a insurance paper trail. So I would think a clue report would show that.
Probably. Yeah, good point.
Even if you don't use insurance, though, anyone that keeps any records of their own, if they paid personally, bioremediation is not a cheap process. So if that's something you paid for personally out of pocket, I'm willing to bet you're going to hold on to that receipt.
Yeah.
It's not going to be $500 check.
He's asking, could there be unseen biohazard left by the body?
You would smell it. You
would smell it for real, even if it's just like
in the bricks down there or whatever? Or I mean in the concrete floor of the basement or something?
So in the restoration industry, we get calls for water, fire, mold, biohazard, anything along those lines. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone into homes for strange smells, things that people can't figure out. Sometimes a strange smell may be something that was left in the basement inside of a wall, that, a food wrapper from when they were finishing the basement, or it could be a biohazard situation. It's funny to me, and I used to think the same way, honestly, but if someone dies in your home or in a dwelling, you have to get that professionally clean. There's a reason why services like Servpro were created. It's not safe for someone that has not been around bloodborne pathogens and other things like that to be down there with some gloves that they got at the dollar store, the yellow ones that go up 4-arm height that all of our moms wore. When I was a kid, my mom just went in the basement and poured bleach on everything. I didn't know if it was blood. I didn't know what it was. But we've moved to a direction where we understand science. We understand the dangers of things. And if you don't clean it up right, you can't get away with not cleaning it up right. There's gonna be evidence. You're dealing with human waste and things like that. There's no good way to hide something like that. Now, if somebody cleaned it up and left and you've moved in and they've been there, when you get that smell, unless it's something you smelled before, you may not even know what it is. It's
So
something
I know that smell? If someone says, I don't know what this strange smell is, it doesn't smell like clothes, but maybe there was some kind of something. Can you come like air this thing out? And you're like, do you walk into a house and are you like, oh, I got this?
That's what our agent said. She said she opened the door. She opened the door, she smelled it, and she said to her client, step back. Like, no, you're not going in here. She
But
knew,
that
like,
was with our realtor, like the body was still there. So I think like what the question for the listener was, assuming maybe most of it was, or they tried to clean it up. So I would assume it would be more faint and not so obvious like it was for our agent that
it's a distinct smell.
Walked into that situation.
There's no way around.
Even just a little bit left over, a hint in the air is much different than, because I've walked into homes and I'm like, I can't pinpoint that smell.
It's one of those things that once you realize what that smell is, there's no way you're going to go through the rest of your life without ever knowing what that smell is when you smell it again. It's not even something that, I wish it was something you had to train your nose to, because then there would be a way to undo that in some way. But it's, I had an instance one time where I had a family member that's sister had passed away in a home. We met her at the home. She handed me the keys to the front door. I asked her if she wanted to go inside with me, and she said, no, the fire department told me it was bad and I don't think I can see it. When I opened the front door, I knew I wasn't going to find anything because there was no smell. I walked straight in the home. I had asked her where the back door was. I walked straight in the home and went to open the sliding glass door because I was assuming that there was going to be something that I run into so that there would be the ability to air it out. And I found nothing. But when we went to walk in the house in the very beginning, I told her right off the bat that there's nothing that smells in here. I don't think we're going to find anything. There was maybe a 5-inch in diameter blood spot from when a family member had hit their head. But the police officers and the firefighters, if it's a rookie firefighter that hasn't seen that many incidences, he could tell a family member that it's that bad. If you get a veteran firefighter that's seen 1,000 of them, something that may be bad to the family member, the firefighter isn't going to think that's bad. Like I keep saying, every situation's different. But if you walk into a home and there's blood or been somewhat, you're going to smell it if it wasn't cleaned up properly. And also a UV light. If you don't clean up blood, it's just like CSI. Everything glows. You can see. If somebody cleans something up with bleach, more than likely they're going to smear that blood around a whole bunch whenever they're cleaning it up. So if it's not wiped and cleaned and disinfected properly, all you're going to have is a big glowing area that's just diluted. It's glowing slightly less than the rest of it, but most people aren't trained to do this. So it's very easy to miss things. Things that you would think aren't a big deal at all could end up being the biggest. Curtains in a bedroom are my biggest headache in the world, because curtains can be cleaned, but there's no feasible way to get a thin sheer curtain soaking wet. So if someone passes away by a suicide in a home, they want the room to look exactly the same way it does, and you can't get blood out of everything,
So have you ever been involved in like solving a crime, or have you had to testify in court or anything like that?
No. We're always trained that if I find any evidence at all, I stop everything that I'm doing, tell everyone to leave the room, and shut the door and call the police. We don't disturb, move, touch. If I find a shell casing, anything, we're calling the police right away. That being said, you find notes to loved ones. When we find those, we have to stop everything we're doing and call the police. We want to put ourselves.
That's happened. These kind of things have happened, I guess.
Yes, we have to put ourselves in a safe place where we're not contaminating a scene. We're not making things any worse. That we're only really truly helping. And I can't even foresee a court type situation just because the cause of death and the investigations typically done at the morgue. And if they're pulling the body out of a home, they're not going to remove a body if there's any foul play or anything that they still need to figure out at the home. Nowadays, technology is amazing. The videos that I was trained with were all VHS tapes. I know it sounds so funny, but we take camera phone pictures now of everything. I'm guilty of it. I'll do a walkthrough and record my whole site just to make sure that I know what's going on. We will open up all the drawers to make sure that there's no blood splatter in the drawers. Well, since I opened up all your drawers, now the second I open it up, I'm going to take a picture of the top of it because I'm going to show you where everything was in the drawer so that when I lift everything up, I can prove to you that I put it all back in the right place. That's something that I do as a personal thing that I want everyone to understand, that we care about your things, that I'm not coming through here and just ripping things out and throwing things away and doing this and doing that, because when you're throwing away important things, they have to see that you care about the rest of their things at the same time. If I'm going to throw away something that means the world to you, but I can save 90% of your other belongings, please understand that I wouldn't be telling you to throw this away if you didn't have to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of a couple more random questions if you got a couple more minutes, Sam.
Yes, sir.
So I don't think that I'm some sort of criminal, but I had some muriatic acid it was for my pool, and I spilled it on the concrete in my garage, and it did that kind of like ate away the concrete. I was wondering, do you guys ever use that, or do you actually have to do the chipping away thing?
Ooh, look at Adam there being all like.
So muriatic acid has, it's a chemical. We don't use any chemicals. Everything we use, our disinfectant is a natural botanical disinfectant. It's called concrobium. You can drink it. I know that sounds crazy, but I have been face to face with a customer in their home trying to explain to them that I'm here to disinfect things, that I know you're afraid of cleaners, but you know, your kids are going to be safe. This is safe around your pets. And when they don't believe me, I will spray that disinfectant in my mouth. I'm not kidding. A spray won't kill you. A drink won't kill you, but it has a peppermint extract in it that is a bug cleaner, or a bug disinfectant as well. Bug spray, I'm sorry. And it doesn't taste good, but it's safe. Your dog could walk up and lick the disinfectant off the ground, and your dog is going to be fine.
Is that kind of the purpose of not using any chemicals? Is that so that dogs don't lick it or whatever? I mean,
it started off because everyone wanted to be green and eco-friendly. I remember getting into the industry and people would ask me all the time if the products I was using was green. And when I was 19 and 20 years old, I've looked at people and been like, no, it's clear. What are you talking about? I wouldn't spray something green on your carpet. And then I found out later what they were talking about. Most products that are chemicals that clean don't clean. They etch off the surface of what you're cleaning. So when you're putting acid on the top of the concrete, you're burning through your concrete. When you use even soft scrub has bleach in it. I can't use bleach because soft scrub doesn't get your grout lines cleaner. It just rips off the top coating on them because the underneath coating is a little bit more shiny. Most of the cleaners and chemicals that have those harsh chemicals in them is to deteriorate the surface, because I mean, it is cleaning, but I can't come in as a paid professional and deteriorate the surface of your floor. I can't come in and use something that I'm going to spray on it that may keep eating through your concrete for the next 6 months. You know, when you spray muriatic acid, unless you're going to get online and figure out your exact portions to put it in, what your dwell time is, and everything that's going on, when I leave, that muriatic acid can't still be burning through your floor. Because then if your kid comes over and walks on it with a bare foot, I don't have a job. And more than that, I hurt your kid. That's what I care about.
I think that's really interesting, because I mean, in our, in our head, the first thought is like, what, you don't use chemicals to clean a biohazard? That seems like kind of an oxymoron.
They take the stuff away though, I guess.
I can kill the coronavirus in 10 minutes with the same chemical. Why can't it kill some blood?
So what chemical, but it's not a chemical, it's a
disinfectant. It's called concrobium. It's a broad spectrum disinfectant. Most of your companies used to use a product called Microban. Microban has taken over in a lot of hospitals. You'll see their seal on top of a lot of things. Concrobium came out. I first saw it probably about 3 years ago, and it was in a clear bottle the first time I saw it. And I didn't believe in it, had no clue what it was. But then when I read the science behind it, I met the regional concrobium person. He explained to me everything, and I watched my boss take a shot of it. I started to believe in it. And then when I was at work, I realized that it was my go-to. This is the same thing that if I cut my hand open on a job, I'm pouring it into. This is the same thing that if my pet in my home uses the restroom on the floor, this is my go-to. And it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Like I said, when I was a kid, they put bleach on everything. And I had no clue that that's why our bacteria got so bad. It's because it learned to fight back against all the things we were putting on it and not killing it.
and
So
I guess
it's
it's
called
true. We come from a
concrobium. Can you
generation
spell
where
it?
bleach is the standard.
Yes,
Yeah.
concrobium is CONCROBIUM.
Concrobium. Mold control, it says.
There's a mold control and a broad spectrum disinfectant. There's two different types. We actually carry both of them as well.
Is it something you can get over the counter? I mean, I use botanicals to clean like in the house, but I've also stepped it up and I use
Yeah,
now
you can get a
Clorox or
gallon
Lysol
on
wipes.
Amazon for $50.
It's
A
about
gallon of
50.
the broad spectrum?
Yep, it's about $50 to $55. I know you can get it locally at there's a store called Jon Don. Jon Don's your major supplier for most of your restoration companies in the St. Louis area. They're also who we take a lot of our training classes with, but they sell everything. I'm like a kid in a toy store when I go in there. It's unbelievable, the place and the things that they
I
can
might
get.
have to check out this store.
It's
Never
nice.
mind
me,
hand sanitizer. I'm just going to go over there and get me some
Concrobium.
Some concrobium.
program. Yeah.
You
Well, I
can
know
get
we got a-
anything there.
John, it's called?
Jon Don, JONDON.
Jon Don. Okay.
Yes.
So we got to start wrapping it up here. I know you're a busy guy, but if you don't mind, can I ask you just like one or two more questions? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I've noticed, I have a house that I'm representing the buyers. We put under contract. They're going to close in, 4 weeks or so. And they're really concerned. We've noticed different types of people handling COVID, kind of the way they handle their lives differently. And so one of the things that they're wanting to do before they move in is have the place, have the new house, COVID cleaned, and then I guess since they're going to use movers to move their stuff, then they might want to have their stuff then COVID cleaned because the movers have touched it. So are you guys getting involved in any sort of COVID cleaning or anything like that?
Yes. I stepped into this role actually on the first of the year as business development. And unfortunately, I did not think that this COVID thing was coming as quickly as it was. What we've been doing for the past month and a half is we're the ones on Facebook and Twitter that are disinfecting for fire departments, police departments, ambulances, fire trucks. We've done over 2,000 police vehicles. We've done over 100 firehouses. We've done over 100 police stations. We were worried about our first responders. They're our best friends. We have to have them. They have to put out fires in order for me to fix fires. They have to stop leaks and things before we can get in there and do things as far as sprinkler heads. We've just moved into businesses now. With the restaurants opening in the area, anything under 10,000 square feet, I've actually been given the green light to handle myself. Me and the other people from our marketing side will come out in Tyvek suits and fully fog everything and wipe all your touch points. If you were planning on moving your home, if it was me, the process or the way I would do it would be pay those movers if you want to, have them pack up all your stuff and move all your stuff, get everything in the home, get everybody out, and then get it disinfected and move your family in. You don't want to get it disinfected until everything's all moved in place. If you even wanted to be safer, have your couple family members or your housewarming thing before you get disinfected. The big thing about any disinfection services is I can disinfect anything that's happened before me. But when you bring a new person into the building, you're bringing a new factor in. So I can't guarantee that when John or Joe or Larry walks in the door to come see your place, they're not bringing something new in. So if you know you're going to have some people over, you know that you want to entertain and house warm or do whatever, do it in a safe social distancing, do it with a mask on. And then when you're ready to start your life with your family in your new home, disinfect your home, please.
Yeah. So are you guys like coming in and wiping, unpacking a box and wiping the thing and putting it on a shelf? Or are you saying you're coming in with like a fog or something?
So we can come in with a fog and wipe. The way we've been doing it is, so we would fog the main areas, fog over the top of anything. And then as an employee walks through a home, everything that they think that they would touch or that they think people touch are all those common places like 6 feet up in the air on the hallway around a turn where you put your hand wherever you're going to make a corner, things like that are things we're wiping. Doing the first responders vehicles was the healthiest and best thing I think for our company to ever do, because it let us really look at a bunch of different things and try to figure out what even is a touch point. What are you even touching inside of a car? Are you touching your blinkers? Are you touching your cup holders? Are you touching this? Every ambulance that I got into had a different cabinet, a different way to open up a drawer, a different thing for you to be intrigued with that you would want to know what it is. So that's why you have to have people like me and people in our industry that do that, is because I'm excited. You saw me just smile talking about it. Is if I can find those places so that you don't have to find those places, then that's my whole purpose in being here. That's what's awesome about this, is if I can come in and clean everything and you don't get sick, I did it. We did it. I love it. Together.
I might need to hire you guys for my car, because I noticed there seems to be like barbecue sauce and everything from when I went to some.
Oh, I've been in your car, Adam. It's I didn't think it was a new challenge for Servpro.
I thought you were going to put her.
All right. So can you give us, how can the listeners contact you? How can anybody get a hold of you?
So I am Servpro of Northwest St. Louis County. My direct phone number is 314-461-2020. Now, I'm working from home and I'm in marketing. That being said, I have my phone on me 24 hours a day. I would prefer to answer any calls during business hours, but if anybody out there has a question, call me. No question is a dumb question.
Or an emergency.
Or is there just like a regular Servpro number you want them to call, or is that the best number they should call?
That's my cell phone number. You can also contact our business. They're all Googleable as Servpro of Oakville, Mehlville, Affton, Webster Groves, Clayton, Ladue, and Northwest St. Louis County. The direct phone number is 314-846-0600. I just always give out my cell phone number because when you call the office after hours, it's typically for emergency situations. It's someone at home on call that's going to respond to a home within an hour to help out. If you just have a question or something that's been bugging you or eating you up, call me, because I'm working from home. I'm reaching out to businesses and asking them if we can come help them. And if I can't help a business, I can help a human then. If somebody's uneasy or uncomfortable or needs the peace of mind. I also, being involved in this, I know where to find things on the internet. I know websites or CDC or, OSHA regulations or any of those things. So if you ever have a dispute or you need some concrete evidence, we can usually lead you in the right direction. If you need a subcontractor, if you had your floor ripped up or anything, I've been doing this a while. I grew up in St. Louis. I've been in the industry for 6 years. I was in construction for 4 before that.
Wow.
I'm a hometown guy, and we know our local guys. We know our family businesses, and the people that we really do need to be helping out the most during this pandemic. We need to help our local things.
Well, Sam, would you say it's okay for me to say that I hope that I never have to call you, but if I do, I know I'll be in good hands?
I always tell people I'm a good person to know in a bad situation.
Okay.
I'm here.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I'd buy that.
Yes.
Any final questions for Mr. Sam, Shannon, or anything else you want to say, Sam?
No, I mean, this has been great. We really appreciate your time. This is a crazy subject, but.
Don't watch too much ID.
Oh, I will though. I do. I love it.
Just don't overthink it, because then when you run into the situation, you'll spend an hour trying to find evidence that isn't even there.
Right. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. I certainly appreciate it. For anybody who's listening that has questions, comments, reach out to us via podcast@hermannlondon.com. Ideas for future episodes, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. And give us a call for all your real estate needs. Right, Shannon?
Yes, absolutely. We appreciate it.
And give Sam a call for all your cleaning and restoration needs.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.